So recall that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. The m stands for slope, and the b stands for the y-intercepts. So on number 1, when it's asking me to write an equation given the slope and the y-intercept, slope is the n. Oh, that's off the screen. And intercept is the b. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do y equals, and then 3x plus 8. And that's my answer. Same thing on number 2 with my slope. I'm going to do y equals, and it's going to be negative 4x. Because I have a y-intercept of 0, I don't have to include that. I could write plus 0, but it makes more sense just to have y equals negative 4x. Same thing for number 3. I'm going to go ahead and plug those in. I have 0x minus 2. Same thing, 0x cancels out, so I just have y equals negative 2. Okay. When it wants me to find the equation of the line that passes through the given points in slope-intercept form, I want to use the slope formula, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label my points. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So when I label my points, I want to make sure that I am going in alphabetical order and I don't mix x's and y's. So if I make the first one x1, the second one has to be y1. I could have done x2, y2 in the first set, but I have to have one of each. Okay. So then I'm going to plug into the formula. So I have m equals 9 minus 3 over 0 minus 2. Then I want to simplify. 9 minus 3 is 6. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. So now that I have my m, I'm going to go ahead and plug into the y equals mx plus b formula that I wrote earlier. And I can pick either set of points for x and y. I'm going to pick the second set just because 0 typically tends to make things easier. So I'm going to make, this is going to be my m. And 0 will be x, 9 will be y. So I have 9 equals negative 3 times 0 plus b. Negative 3 times 0 is 0 plus b. And then I don't have to write the 0 plus b, so I have 9 equals b. I'm going to go ahead and plug in 9 equals b into my slope-intercept form. So I have y equals negative 3x plus 9 as my final answer. Same thing on number 5. I'm going to go ahead, label them x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to plug them into the slope formula. So I have 2 minus negative 2. Minus is part of the formula, so if I have a double negative, I just write it. Over 0 minus 5. Then 2 minus 2 is 4. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. I could pick either one. I'm going to pick the second one just like I did in the first one just because of the 0 here. So then I have 2 equals negative 4/5 times 0 plus b. 4/5 times 0 is 0. So 2 equals 0 plus b. 2 equals b. So this is my slope. This is my y-intercept. I plug them in, so I have y equals negative 4/5 x plus 2. Same thing on number 6. I have x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug into the slope formula. I have 10 minus 3 on the top, 3 minus 6 on the bottom, 10 minus 3 is 7. 3 minus 6 is negative 4. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. It doesn't matter which one I pick because neither one is particularly easier. So I'm going to have 3 equals negative 7/3 times 6 plus b. Then on the calculator, I'm going to do negative 7/3 times 6. Like that. I press enter and it gives me negative 14. So now I have 3 equals negative 14 plus b. Then I'm going to focus this really quick. Oh, it's a lot better. I'm going to add 14 to both sides. I get b equals 17. So I'm going to go ahead, plug into my slope-intercept formula. I get y equals negative 7/3 x plus 17. Same thing for number 7. I have x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug into my slope formula. I have m equals 2 minus negative 4 over 15 minus 5. 2 minus negative 4 is the same thing as 2 plus 4, so I have 6 on the top. 15 minus 5 is 10. Over here I want to simplify. I can divide my top and bottom by 2, so I have 3/5 as my slope. I'm going to go ahead and plug in. Doesn't matter what I pick. I have negative 4 equals 3/5 times 5 plus b. And we do 3/5 times 5. Turns out to be just 3. Negative 4 equals 3 plus b. I'm going to go ahead and get b by itself, so I subtract 3 on both sides. Negative 7 equals b. So, plug those into the equation. I get y equals 3/5 x minus 7. So now what I want to do is I want to write each equation as a function of x. So I want to figure out how my x values are changing. They are adding 2. And I want to figure out how my y values are changing. They are adding 3. So remember my slope is change in y over change in x. So my slope here is 3/2. Since this is a function of x, it's going to be f of x equals 3/2 x. And then because the x value at 0, when the x value is 0, the y value is also 0, I don't have a y-intercept. So that's just my equation. Over here, I'm adding 1. Over here, I'm subtracting 0.5. So my slope is negative 0.5. My equation is going to be y equals negative 0.5x. And then at the x value of 0, I have a y value of 3.5, and so it's going to be plus 3.5. So when it wants me to find a linear function with the given values, this is very similar to what I was doing on 4th of 7. This is going to be my x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to plug that into the slope formula. So I have m equals negative 4 minus 2 over 7 minus negative 5. On the top, I get negative 6. On the bottom, I get positive 12. It simplifies to negative 1/2. Then I want to plug in to my equation. And I get, it's supposed to be a 2. Equals negative 1/2 times negative 5 plus b. that on the calculator. I'm going to do negative 1/2 times negative 5, which gives me positive 2.5. So I have 2 equals 2.5 plus b. I subtract 2.5 on both sides. I get b equals negative 0.5. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in. Remember, 0.5 is also the same thing as 1/2. So I'm going to just rewrite that again. So this was my slope. This is my y-intercept. So I have y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1/2. I'm going to do the same thing on number 11. I have, this is my x1, y1, x2, y2, I forgot, these are functions. Instead of y equals for functions, I want to write f of x. Same thing, but it's giving it a name. Over here, I'm going to plug into the slope formula, so I get 7 minus 1 on the top over 12 minus negative 2 on the bottom. 7 minus 1 is 6, 12 minus negative 2 is 14. This simplifies to 3/7 because I can divide them both by 7. Then I plug into the formula, so I have 1 equals 3/7 times negative 2 plus b. Then negative 3/7. Oh wait, the 3/7 is positive. 3/7 times negative 2 gives me a weird funky decimal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press this math button right here. My first choice is fraction. I hit enter again, and it turns it into a nice fraction for me. So negative 6/7. And then I'm going to add 6/7 to both sides. So I'm going to do it again on the calculator. I have 1 plus 6 divided by 7. Gives me a funky decimal. I go math, fraction, enter, and it gives me 13/7. Okay. So this is my m, this is my b, and I'm going to plug that into my equation. So I get y equals 3/7 x plus 13/7 for my final answer. Moving on, it wants me to write the equation of the line that I see. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see how many it's going down and over to the next point it crosses. It went down to right 2. So that's negative 2 over 2 for my slope. Simplifies to negative 1. And then I also want to see where it crossed the x-axis. It crossed it at negative 2. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 1x minus 2. Or I can rewrite this without the 1 up front, so y equals negative x minus 2. Same thing over here. I'm looking for where it crosses. It goes up 4, right 2. So my slope is m equals 4 over 2. Simplifies to 2. It crosses the y-axis at 4. So then my equation is going to be y equals 2x plus 4. That's off the screen. Okay. Parallel means it has the same slope. Okay. So what I'm going to do, my slope is m, this is x and y. I'm going to go plug those in to my y equals mx plus b equation. This 2 is not important. So I have 1 equals negative 1/2 times 4 plus b. Negative 1/2 of 4 is negative 2. Then I add 2 to both sides. I get 3 equals b. So I plug back in my m and b. So I have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. Same thing on number 15. This is going to be my m, x, y. Negative 4 is not important. So I have negative 1 equals 2 times negative 1 plus b. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. If I add 2 to both sides, I get 1 equals b. So my equation is going to be y equals 2x, technically I'm up there, and then plus 1. Same thing over here. This is my slope, xy. Negative 2 is not important. So now I get 2 equals 1/3 times 6 plus b. 1/3 6 is the same thing as saying 6 divided by 3. So that's 2. I have 2 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2 on both sides. 0 equals b. So all I have to do is y equals 1/3 x, because the b does not exist. Then I have to move on to my last one. I have m, xy, not important. 3 equals negative 3 times 2 plus b. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. B. Then I add 6 to both sides. I get 9 equals b. I plug back in. Y equals negative 3x plus 9. Moving forward, the last 4 I have to solve are perpendicular. This means I flip the fraction and change the sign of the slope. So if it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. So flipping this is going to turn into a positive number, and then instead of being 1/2, it's just going to turn into 2 over a secant 1. Then this is no longer important. So then I have, I plug into the y equals mx plus b formula. So I have 1 equals 2 times 3 plus b. 2 times 3 is 6. Then I subtract 6 on both sides. I get negative 5 equals b. I plug back in. I get y equals 2x minus 5. This one, I'm going to put it over a secret 1 to flip. So I get m equals negative 1/2 because I have to change the sign. And flip the fraction. So then this is x and y. I get negative 1 equals negative 1/2 times negative 4 plus b. Negative 1/2 times negative 4 turns into positive 2. And I subtract 2 on both sides. I get negative 3 equals b. So y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. On number 20, I need to start by changing the sign, so it's going to be negative. Flipping 1/3 turns into just 3 over 1, or 3. Then I'm going to plug in for x and y. I have 2 equals negative 3 times negative 1 plus b. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Then I subtract 3 on both sides. I get negative 1 equals b. Plug back in. Y equals negative 3x minus 1. Same thing on number 21. Instead of being negative, it's going to be positive. It's over a secret 1. So I flip, and it turns into 1/3. And I get, this is x, this is y. I get 3 equals positive 1/3 times 3 plus b. 1/3 times 3 is the same thing as saying 3 divided by 3. So I have 3 equals 1 plus b. Then I subtract 1 on both sides, and I get 2 equals b. So my equation here is y equals 1/3 x plus 2. That is off the screen.